This episode is brought to you by Absolute Landscapes. Absolute Landscapes is a landscape maintenance company that focuses heavily on commercial property maintenance. Call today for information about the services we provide and how we can best help you. 803-427-5944.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to do this conversation because I feel like, we talked about breath work and this kind of thing last time, and this is something I've heard a lot of. I don't really know much about it. And so I guess you might hear that and think that it might not be a intelligent conversation, but I feel like I have a lot of questions. So I don't know. I think we're going to have a good conversation here. So if you want to introduce yourself and say anything you want to say to preface the conversation, tell us who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, Cody, thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. I'm absolutely passionate about breathwork, and any opportunity that I have to talk about what can be a life-changing process for people is an opportunity I grasp at with both hands. Before I introduce myself properly, though, if it's all right with you, we'll just take a few breaths together. This is how I start every interview, every seminar, every lecture, almost every conversation I have with people. We stop, we pause, and we take a few breaths. And if you're listening along at home, if it's possible for you, don't do this if you're driving, but why don't you just stop, pause, and take a couple of breaths with us right now? Is that all right with you, Cody?
Absolutely.
Let's do it then. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who joined us in doing that. It is a really simple practice, but it is profound. I would say it is radically and revolutionary, life-changing. And that is something you can take away. Stopping and pausing and taking a breath before any interaction with someone will absolutely change the outcome of what that conversation is. But to introduce myself, my name is Ben. I'm a breathwork facilitator, teacher, and I'm founder of a breathwork school called Breathing Space. I'm absolutely passionate about bringing breathwork out into the world because I truly, honestly, and genuinely believe that breathwork can improve every single moment of every single person's life. Is that good enough for you, Cody?
That's wonderful, man. It's perfect. What's crazy? Can you hear me okay? Okay, because I'm watching my volume bar. It's my volume bar was kind of frozen in time there. I think that's incredible, man. Because when we were doing this little, I guess you could call it maybe an exercise. It was crazy how the conscious breath, how much attention to the conscious breath, like just being conscious about the breath, just how much it changes, your mentality, or I guess your anxiety, or whatever it is. I mean, every once in a while I'll find myself, and I don't know if this is how breath work works, but every once in a while I'll find myself, if I'm, overwhelmed or stressed or something along those lines, just being conscious of the breath, just being in that present moment. I don't know if we've talked about the present moment before and how there's really all there is the present moment. But it's fascinating just how something so simple can have such a big impact. And man, I don't really know where to kick this thing off. I guess maybe there's so many different ways we can go here. I guess so let me ask you this. You hear a lot about like morning routines and this kind of thing, and taking breath work as part of your morning routine. What do you think about that? What's going on there? Is it just because I've heard so many different things. I've heard you're supposed to have like, 10 as deep breaths as possible or whatever to get as much oxygen as possible. Because, not to go off on a little side tangent, but I don't know if you know who Gary Brecka is. He's a biologist. He's been on Joe Rogan and all those guys. He talks about how most diseases are from a lack of oxygen in the body. That's how they survive most of these diseases, cancer and this kind of thing. And so if you do these, these deep as possible inhales, is supposed to, maximize the oxygen in your body. I don't know if that's kind of what you focus on, or if you're more on the I don't want to say spiritual, but more on the spiritual side of it? I don't know. I guess that's the question.
Well, there's a lot. You're right. There's so many ways we could take this conversation and so many ways we could explore this. Breathwork is a very wide church. There is people who concentrate on breathwork for physical well-being, for health, for instance. And what Gary Brecker was talking about there is a perfect example of that, and how we can use our breath to improve our overall well-being and to stop diseases or illnesses coming. If you're into sports or performance or fitness, our breath can be the quickest, easiest hack to improve all of those things. There are some simple things you can do to improve your fitness. If you are Breathwork is great for emotional regulation. As you mentioned, if you're feeling stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, there's some very simple techniques. Even just becoming aware of how you're breathing can down-regulate you, can drop you into that rest and digest system. But breathwork can be also profoundly powerful in trauma release, for letting go of stuck emotions and energy and emotional scars in your body. Breathwork, as you mentioned, can have a more subtle aspect. I don't really like the word spiritual either. I tend to use the word internal. But breathwork can help us on a mental layer. It can help fire us up with creativity and ideas. It can help us connect to different states of consciousness. And it is a spiritual practice. Whatever your religious beliefs, this is a non-denominational practice. But breathwork is mentioned in every holy book, whether it's the Torah or the Bible or the Quran or the Hindu Vedas. Breathwork is there absolutely in usually the very first paragraph, but in all spiritual practices, really in any practice, breath is there at the beginning and it is there at the end. So breathwork can be all of those things and more. As a teacher and as a trainer, I have to have my fingers in all of those pies. I have to be aware of how breathwork can interact on all those different levels of our being. But you asked about a morning routine. Now, I highly recommend when anyone is starting off, they develop a morning routine. It becomes that way you will learn about your breath. You will learn how to use it. You'll become aware of it and it becomes ingrained after you. But like anything else, you never want a daily routine or a practice to become a habit, to become a crutch that you cannot survive without. I know many people who, if they miss their daily meditation practice or their yoga practice, then the rest of their day is a write-off. You should never have a daily practice that you have to rely on, and if you don't do it, well, we're all going to hell in a handcart. Now, everyone's body is different and everyone's breath is different. Everyone needs something different. So I don't believe there is one practice that is right for every single person at any point in their life. So there are some practices that I think are great to do in the morning. And there are some practices that are really great to do just before you go to sleep, for instance. Really, I believe that breathwork or any internal journey that you go on is about empowerment. It's about allowing each person to understand what they need in any moment. So, you're right. 10 deep breaths for most people, most of the time, is something really powerful to do that can only benefit them, but not always. There are some times that you need actually to breathe really lightly, to breathe really slowly, and to be really gentle with yourself early in the morning. Would you like me to share my favorite morning technique with you and your listeners?
For sure, yeah.
So this is a great technique that I do in the mornings, not every morning, because I don't want it to become a crutch, but I do this in the morning and before I do any exercise. And it is, as you explained, it will help increase the oxygenation of your blood. This is called a lung stretch. And what it will do, it will help increase the overall tidal capacity of your lungs, so you'll be able to take more air into your lungs, but it will also increase the elasticity of the membrane of the lungs, of the alveoli, which are the tiny little air sacs inside your lungs. So it helps increase the volume of your lungs and the elasticity of your lungs and how they grow and shrink again. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so please do this along with us. Again, unless you're driving, because it involves a short breath hold. You don't want to be doing that if you're concentrating on something like, I don't know, juggling with knives or playing with machinery or anything like this. First time you do this, it's best if you're doing it sitting down. Are you ready, Cody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I want you to do is just take a gentle, deep, slow breath through the nose with your mouth closed until you are full, and then hold. Ready? Inhale gently through the nose. And when you're full, pause. Now, what will happen at that point is your lungs will gently start to relax, and you'll find that you can take a little bit more air. So breathe in more, and then pause again. And again, your lungs will start to relax. You'll find you can breathe a little bit more. Hold. And then maybe let's do one more sip of air. And then gently exhale through the nose. Okay. Now do that 3, 4, 5 times in the morning, no more. And you can also do the opposite of that, the lung emptying. Should we try that one as well? That's another great technique. Whilst we're doing this morning routine exercise, let's try that. I want you to inhale gently through the nose until you're full. And then exhale gently through the nose until you are absolutely empty. Got that? Now, take your arm and I want you to put your mouth over the crook of your arm like this. Okay, so your mouth is covered. And then I want you to cough. Okay, and then when you've done that, okay, so I'm pretty sure you'll feel that things have loosened up in your chest a little bit. So what that will do, when you're breathing, there's always a small residue of air that is left in your lungs. You cannot expel all the air in your lungs, and you do not want to. That's your reserve volume, it's called, and that keeps your lungs inflated. If you got rid of it, your lungs would collapse. But what that exercise does is when you're empty, when you start coughing, you're activating your diaphragm, which is a big muscle at the bottom of your lungs, and that pushes up and refreshes the air that is left, that kind of stale air. It's also really good if you've got any congestion in your lungs. For instance, if you're recovering from a chest cold and you've got a lot of phlegm or catarrh or mucus sitting in your lungs, it's a great way to help loosen that up and clear it. So, as a morning routine, I would really encourage people to try out some different breath works. The lung stretch and the lung emptying are two great examples of that. And you don't have to just do them in the morning. You can do them before exercise. They're great before exercise. But also, it's great to do at night as well. There you go, Cody. My little take on a morning routine, including a couple of exercises that your listeners could maybe explore.
No, yeah, that's perfect, man. We're having this conversation, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking that it's almost like I've kind of done a little bit of breath work without even realizing it. I think because I'm in the gym a lot, and anybody that's in the gym and they're lifting heavy, they know that you're supposed to breathe. There's a certain way that you breathe to get the most efficient workout. And a lot of people don't know about the exhale on the I don't know what it would be on the return, and then inhale on the return, and then exhale on the force, on the force, like let's just say you're benching or whatever, you're coming down, you're inhaling, and then you're pushing back, you're exhaling. That really makes a difference. But something, I think we might have talked about this last time, something else too that I do is cold plunging. And anybody who's ever been in any kind of cold water, whether it's a shower or a lake or whatever, that it's like it takes your breath away. You get into cold water and it's a shock and it takes your breath away. And one thing that I've found out doing that is, for the first, I'm in there 3 minutes usually, sometimes 4. But what I found out is the first couple of seconds or so, I'm trying to, it's almost like you have to consciously get your breath back, and then from there, you can ease your mind, or your mind can get the mental benefits. But I found, and I don't know if it's because I've been doing that or because I've just been conscious of it, but I found it more, stressful. Like if something happens out in the world is stressful to me, I found myself, consciously controlling my breath. And I don't know if that's because I've done it in the cold plunge. They say cold plunging helps you manage stress, and I think there's different reasons for that. I know it, releases adrenaline, that kind of thing, and you can basically train your body how to react when you're in that state. But I don't know, man. It's weird. It's not weird, but it's fascinating to me that I've, found myself being conscious of my breath when these things happen, when stressful things happen. Because that sounds so cliche. Like we hear, you hear a lot of therapists talking about breath work and stuff like that. And it sounds such a simple thing, but it's actually powerful. It's really powerful, I think, when you do it, when you can become conscious of it. And like you said, there's so many different reasons that people do it. It's for the health and the wellness and, exercising. There's proper ways to breathe. The morning routine sets your day up. There's just so many different ways. And it's just so fascinating that, conscious use of our breath can have such profound impacts on our mental and physical health.
Absolutely. And you've picked on some really powerful moments there that we could explore. Ice baths, by the way, they are tremendously beneficial for all sorts of reasons. Most people concentrate on the physical health benefits of an ice bath, which are huge for inflammation, for recovery. But you mentioned about the fact that it's great for stress release. It's great for anxiety. And the reason is that because the breath plays a unique role in our body. We have conscious control over our body, but also our body exists with so many different systems all by itself. It's the autonomic nervous system. Our breath is one of those things that we can control and yet also happens just automatically. And so if we're in a difficult or a stressful situation, for instance, going into the ice, which is if that happened for real, that is a life-threatening situation. Mm-hmm. If our body goes into ice for any length of time, we're going to shut down and we're going to die. Now, in those situations, in situations where our life is threatened, or even if it's just a perceived life-threatening situation, our breath changes. We drop into what's called the fight or flight response, or the freeze response, and our breath changes. We might start panting, or we might freeze, and the breath actually stops in our body.
Ben, hang on just a second. I hate to interrupt you. I think we're having a connection issue here. Let me stop this and start right back up. Hang on just a second. So you were saying, so if we get into the ice, it could be a life-threatening situation, and we go into fight or flight.
Yeah, when we're in the ice, that is actually physically putting a huge amount of stress into our body. It is a life-threatening situation, and our breath changes when we're in a life-threatening situation. It might start to, we might start to pant, or we might hold our breath and freeze. Now, when we do those things, if it is out in the wild, for instance, if we are being chased by a predator, the panting might really help for a short burst to increase the oxygenation of our blood. If we're hiding from a predator, the freeze, where we stop breathing, might also help to not give us away. However, when we're going into an ice bath, for instance, and we can then control our breath, we're putting our body onto this huge stress, and yet we are doing it in a safe and controlled way, which does huge things for our ability to handle stress. If we can handle stress in that situation, our body learns that it can handle stress in other situations. Often, the threats that we have these days are perceived threats. They're not real threats. There aren't predators actually hunting or chasing us down. And yet in our bodies, they're hardwired for these kind of reactions. And they're not helpful. To have that amount of adrenaline released into our body constantly, especially if we're suffering from some kind of trauma or post-traumatic stress disorder, where any little trigger could mean we drop into this absolute, ready to fight situation. Not helpful. And so by controlling our breath, we're then sending the messages to our body, you're safe. You don't need to be in this situation. You can relax. So when we control our breath from, say, panting and thinking, stop, hang on. If I can control my breath here, slow down, pause. Maybe everything else in my body that is happening, all the hormones that are being released, all the adrenaline, and then all the mental conditions like anxiety or stress or overwhelm, those will all start to fade away as well. So our breath is an amazingly powerful tool for beginning to control those internal systems that happen within us. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. That's actually a really beautiful way to put how the ice bath, how it helps us handle stress. Because I've never really heard it put that way, but I think that's a very helpful way to say that. And it makes a lot of sense now that you've said it that way. So do you work with, do you coach people through breath work? Do you work with people through breath work, or what's sort of your main area of focus?
Well, Cody, I discovered breathwork just almost exactly 10 years ago. I was invited to a conscious breathwork session, and at that time in my life, I'd recently turned 40. I had no particular direction. I didn't know what my purpose was in life. I didn't know what I was there to achieve. And at that point in my life, I'd been already doing a lot of meditation. I'd been doing a lot of yoga. I'd done a lot of group therapy. I'd studied all of the self-development books on the bookshelf, but nothing really worked for me. Some of them had part of the answers. When I went to my first conscious breathwork session, and you know what? I think we might do some of that in a few seconds, in a few minutes. I'm going to give you a taste of that. I went to this session and I thought I knew what breathwork was. I thought, we'll just do a little bit of alternate nostril breathing. We'll have some nice music and we'll do a few exercises. It was something completely different to what I was expecting. We were taught this particular breathwork technique called conscious breathwork or conscious connected breathwork. We were instructed to lie down. Some music started to play, and then we started to breathe in this technique. And I would say within about 5 breaths, I went to the place of transcendence and connection, of transformation that I'd been looking for my whole life. I suddenly accessed parts of me that I had only ever glimpsed after hours of meditation or yoga practice or doing chanting or, days of deep reflection and therapy. I got to that moment quickly and easily and joyfully, and it was as simple as taking a breath. And at the same time in this room, extraordinary things were happening around me. The person on my right side was screaming like they were being stabbed or disemboweled. The person on the other side of me was screaming like they were having a full body orgasm. And then somebody on the other side of the room was laughing hysterically like they'd just been told the biggest joke of the universe. And I remember sitting up thinking, what is happening here? And then when we came back after the breath work, and then I had my own deeply profound experience, which I don't mind sharing with you, but we all came back at the end to share our experience. And although everyone had had radically different experiences, every single person had had an event that for them was life-changing. Letting go of childhood trauma, one person had, who had experienced something deeply, deeply life-alteringly awful when they were a child. They suddenly had a chance to kind of revisit that in a safe way and let it go. Someone else had a conversation with a parent who had passed on. And a lot of the unresolved energy that they'd had and the anger they'd been able to release. then they've been able to kind of express and get over. Somebody else, had a magical shamanic kind of experience, and someone else who had a long-term chronic tinnitus buzzing in their ear said that was the first time they'd had a pause in that. And I was, oh my goodness, what has happened here? And then my next thought was, I have got to train in this. I've got to learn how to guide people through this experience, because it's nothing external. It wasn't the facilitator doing this. It wasn't like we're taking ayahuasca or plant medicine. We had just done breathing, something every single person does every single moment of their lives. And yet everything changed for everyone in that room. So I trained to become a facilitator. I trained to lead other people in that journey. But something more than that happened to me, Cody. I made a vow that I would bring this out into the world as fully as possible. The gift that I was given, I made a promise to the universe that I would do my absolutely best to give everyone the opportunity to experience the power of their own breath. Now, my background is in teaching. I was a high school teacher for 15 years. I worked in some of the most deprived areas of the south coast of England, where I'm from. You can probably tell from my Cockney accent. Some of the low aspirational parts where the kids, they were left out on the scrap heap. So I was a really good high school teacher, actually, and I was one of those teachers that I'd always wanted to be, one of those inspirational teachers. In the end, I burnt out from that, because working in a school system, you can only go so far with it. But my background was in teaching, so when I completed my training, I sat down and I thought, well, if I work as a facilitator, I can reach a lot of people, 100 people a week maybe. If I'm really good and I hold big sessions, maybe 150 people a week. But there's always a ceiling to the number of people that you can reach. And also, let's face it, I'm a middle-aged white guy. The wellness world is full of middle-aged, guys like me, thinking they know everything and telling everyone how to breathe or how to meditate or how to do yoga or whatever. Breathwork needs to go out to other places, to other communities, places that are traditionally underrepresented in the wellness world, other languages. And those are places that I can't take them. However, what I can do is I can train other facilitators. Because of my background in teaching, I knew I could train other facilitators. And if I trained, say, 10 facilitators, each of them went out and, facilitated 100 people a week, well, suddenly it starts to get exponential. Suddenly the reach that we can have is exponential. And that's been my story. Over the last 5 years, when I opened up my school, I've trained hundreds of breathwork facilitators, and they have in turn gone out and changed thousands and thousands and thousands of people's lives, all through the power of breath. And so the reach that we have had has been world-changing. And I say that not from an ego point of view, not because, I want to be the big guy who started this whole movement off. I'm not. I'm here because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, of breathwork heroes of mine who have already gone out and changed the world. I am following on from them. And some of my facilitators are actually way better than I am as well. And that's the goal of every teacher, to be like that. So that's what I do, Cody, now. I train facilitators to go out and lead breathworks. I still lead a lot of breathworks myself, a lot, but that's not my main focus now. Does that answer your question?
Oh, for sure. I think that's a really smart way to do that, because I do think you can reach a lot more people that way. It's crazy, man, how much we are all connected. It's crazy that I forget the number. I think, I don't know how many thousands of people that the estimate is that you'll meet along your lifetime, or that you'll know in your lifetime, but not know personally, but like people that you'll meet and be connected to indirectly, because other people know them, and there's just a network of all these people. And it's just like the people that you could meet or meet indirectly or know indirectly in your lifetime is substantial. I mean, you could know a lot of people just because other people know people. And I think that's incredible, man. Teaching others first of all, a teacher of anything is such an honorable thing, because I think lifelong learning of anything is a skill that we should probably all, implement at some point. But yeah, so let me back up for just a second, and I'm not asking about your experience. I know you said you don't mind sharing it, but so you had you and everybody else had a life altering and life changing experience just from breath work, just from doing this, whatever this exercise was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A life-changing experience just from breath work.
Was it, so did it change the conscious, like the consciousness, or did like, was this like a meditative thing? I mean, what was, I guess, how did this happen? Because people go to therapy for years, and, they live their lives for years, and they try to, solve whatever the issue is. But it's like something as simple, and I know it's not as simple as it seems, but just for lack of a better word, something as simple as breathing, breath work, seem to solve this for a lot of people. So I'm curious about that really piques my interest.
Well, Cody, how about we do something a little bit more interesting? Rather than just talking about it, how about we have a tiniest taste of the power of breath work and just see if there's something in you and maybe in some of your listeners that wants to connect to something a bit more deeper and a bit more powerful. Would you be willing to do that?
I don't know if I'm ready for this, but that means it's the right time to do it. So we'll do it.
All right.
I don't know if I want to jump in, but when you feel that is the exact time to jump in. So we'll do it.
Good for you. Okay. Well, if you're listening at home, again, please join in with us, but not if you're driving, not if you're operating heavy machinery or playing with knives or anything that means you aren't safe. Please only do this next exercise with us if you're in a still, quiet place where you'll be undisturbed for the next 5 minutes and you're in a supported position, either seated or lying down. Normally, we'll do this practice for 30 to 60 minutes, and it includes a whole frame with a lot of contraindications. It's a very powerful breathwork technique. So if you've got certain medical challenges, you've got to be really careful. However, we're only going to do this for 60 seconds, 90 seconds maybe, in which case it is not only safe, but it's extraordinarily beneficial for everyone and pretty much every medical condition you can think of. Okay, so you ready, Cody?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is quite hard for podcast hosts to do, because I know you're thinking, part of your mind is thinking about the levels, about the connection, about the recording. Where's it going next? Is there any dead air? What's my next question? I really want you to just let go of that for the next 5 minutes and just trust me that you will get what you want to do. So we're just going to do a very short minute or two's meditation to go inside, and then we will do a minute or two of conscious breath work to help us connect in really deep. So when you're ready, just give your shoulders a bit of a wiggle, give your hands a shake. Okay, just shake out anything there. Find yourself in a comfortable position, either seated or lying down. And then close your eyes and start gently breathing in and out through your nose. That's it. And as you breathe in and out through your nose, just feel how your body is moving. Your chest rising and falling. Maybe your belly expanding and contracting. Just be aware of where your body is being supported, where your feet and hands and hips are resting. Just be aware of your body for a few breaths. And then become aware of the air entering and leaving your body through your nose. Cool on the way in. That's it. Bring all your attention, all your awareness, all your focus on the sensation of the air entering your body. And then on an inhale, take your awareness inside to that still, quiet place within. a place of wisdom, a place of strength, a place of kindness and love and compassion. It's a part we all have. So feel it as you breathe and just reside there for a few moments. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to listen to the answer that arises inside rather than just think of a quick answer with your head. Trust your body's wisdom. And if there is no answer that comes, that's fine too. If there was something in your life that you wished to let go of, what would that be? If there was something in your life that you wish to let go of, what would that be? And if there were some words or a message that you needed to hear right now, what would those words, what would that message be? Now, we're going to begin our breath work. I want you to open your mouth wide, really wide, as if you're taking a bite of an apple. Wider. That's it. Keep it there. Now start taking full body breaths. Filling every part of your body, from your belly, your chest, your shoulders, your arms, and your legs. That's it. Deeper. Fill yourself up. Now the most important part is no pauses at the top and no pauses at the bottom. As soon as one breath begins, the next ends, like waves coming in. That's it. Now pull on the inhale, but let go on the exhale. Okay, you have 30 more seconds. Wide open mouth, full body breaths. That's it. Commit to it. Stay present with this. You can do this for 30 more seconds. Give it everything that you've got. That's it. More, deeper. You have 20 more seconds, 20 more breaths. Fill yourself up. That's it. 10 more seconds. 3 more breaths. Okay, last one. Inhale. Let go. Now close your mouth. Breathe through your nose and put pauses in. And just wait there for a moment. Feel how your body is different right now. And you will feel physically different. You may feel the blood pounding in your veins. You may feel pins and needles. You may feel hot or cold, dry throat. All of those are normal, but just sit with that. Now, let's ask those questions again. If there was something in your life that you needed to let go of, what would it be? And if there was a message you needed to hear right now, what would that be? So be in stillness and feel and listen. And when you're ready, just gently start to come back. Begin with the tiniest and smallest of movements. Moving your jaw or your head, wiggling your fingers and your shoulders. When you're ready, gently blink your eyes open. And I want you to look around the room that you are in. And just notice 5 different things. and name them in your head. Mirror, kettle, TV, whatever it is in your room. And then give a smile, give a shake. And if you're listening to this, give a smile at your camera. I can feel that. And so can Cody. Welcome back, Cody. And well done. I saw you commit to that. I saw you commit to that fully. Well done. It's not easy to do as a host. How was that experience for you?
So, I don't know if I want to share the answer to the question, but I'll say that the answers I feel like are reflected in my life, So in other words, what do you want to let go of? What was the second question? If
there was a message that you wanted to receive, what would it be?
Yeah. So I can kind of see some of the things that I do in life reflecting these answers, if that makes sense. But even before that, the awareness of like the breath, like the awareness of breathing in breath was even a profound thing in itself. Because I've tried to meditate before, and I've tried to do this kind of thing. I don't, for whatever reason, I can't seem to focus enough to meditate. And I think that's part of the process. You have these thoughts come in and out, and you have, whatever. But I've never been aware of like actually breathing, like feeling the air go into your body. I've never been aware of that, which is a pretty powerful a sense of awareness, I guess.
Well, you know what? You ask a room full of people how many of them can meditate. A few people will put their hand up. And then if you say how many of you struggle to meditate, everyone will put their hand up. If you ask, can everyone in here breathe? And can everyone will put their hand up. But breathwork will get you to the same place as meditation easily, simply and joyfully. What you did there was actually a meditation, but it's a breathing breathwork, full body somatic meditation, not sitting there thinking, concentrating. Everyone can do this. And the benefits just from that simple breathwork meditation that we started with are so profound. So profound.
Yeah, no, I see that. I don't I don't know how to describe what it is that I feel right. I guess it's just more aware internally, more aware of my body. I don't feel. I will say this: I don't feel more relaxed. It's not a relaxed feeling. It's more like it's more like a let's go do some shit feeling. I guess energized is the way to put it, but it kind of goes along with the answer that I had, for myself. But listen, man, we might have to do a second part of this. I know you got to get out of here. Let me ask you. I guess let me ask you this before we finish up. Where can people find you? Do you have a website, or social media, or anything you want to share?
Of course. My name's Benedict Beaumont, or Ben Beaumont. If you Google my name and breathwork, you will find me. My school is called Breathing Space. The website address is makesomebreathingspace.com. And Make Some Breathing Space is my social media handle. You'll find me on Instagram and Facebook under those, under Make Some Breathing Space. We offer a lot of breathwork. We run 5 free workshops every single week of that very practice that we just did, Cody, conscious breathwork. But we don't just do it for a minute, we do it for 30 minutes. And still, that's just a taste and an introduction. Doing it live through Zoom. Anyone can join. It's absolutely free. We've also got free courses that you can take, a bunch of free resources. And of course, if you want to go deeper, if you want to really explore the power of your breath, then we've got longer courses that you can do. We've got a amazing 12-week program called Rewire, which I genuinely believe does exactly what it says in the title. It rewires you. It took me, when I did this, it's a 12-week program, which is a really simple one. It took me from just being an ordinary high school teacher in the south coast of England. And then suddenly I was running retreats all over the world in the most beautiful places. Suddenly I opened up an international breathwork school. Suddenly I started a festival. and so many other achievements. And it was easy. It was fun. And I did it mostly on 3 days work a week.
Hmm.
And
I was actually going to ask that how much in this 12-week program you can do it a couple days a week, three days a week or so.
No, it's a daily commitment, but only 10 minutes a day.
Okay.
Maybe 10, 15 minutes a day. And then once a week, it's a long breath work. All it is a 10-minute daily breath work practice, a sort of 5-minute journaling practice for 6 days a week. So 10 minutes a day for 6 days a week. And then on the 7th day, you do a longer hour-long breath work. And that's it. So 10 minutes a day and then an hour at the weekend or after 7 days. And usually everyone can commit to doing that. And if you can do that for 12 weeks, you will be rewired. I promise you. It will change your life for the better. And of course, if you want to do what I do, if you want to lead people in those transformational moments, then you can train to be a facilitator with me. You can train to do exactly what I do, exactly how I led just then. And you really can be a light out in the world that is a beacon for others and is an agent for change, that you can help people let go of baggage they've been carrying around all their lives. It's the most privileged job to do, to hold people in that space. I cannot describe what it is like to be a breathwork facilitator. It is honestly the most amazing thing to do that. So that's really what I do. I have a school. I teach breathwork at all levels, from those people who've never experienced their breath before to advanced levels of students who've been studying for years.
Perfect, man. So I know you got to get out of here. I got just two other questions. I guess maybe the first one I probably should ask you when we started this thing. What are some of the general, I guess maybe benefits that people can see from proper breath work? Like if somebody were to get like with you or somebody and they were doing this thing, I know it's probably different for everybody because it kind of just depends on their situation, what they have going on. But like what would be a reason that somebody would want to try to do this? Like why would a person want to try to, improve or work on their breath work? I mean, what are some common benefits that we can, that people might do this for?
Sure. Well, I believe that breathwork can improve every single moment of every single person's life. And that doesn't mean it's the same breathwork that you do every single moment. So breathwork will, without question, improve your physical health and well-being. It will improve your respiratory health. I had asthma all my life until I started training to be a breathwork facilitator. And now I haven't had to use an inhaler for years. It's improved my physical health and well-being without any question. But it's so good for managing stress, for anxiety, for overwhelm. It's so good for being inspired and being creative and being working at a very high level. It's great for a spiritual connection. And whatever your version of spirit means, I promise you breathwork will improve that. So there's so many benefits on all the different levels of our being. Breathwork can be a key that will unlock the door of potential inside of you without any question.
Perfect. Last thing, man, if you had to pinpoint or just kind of share something you're comfortable sharing, one of the most important lessons you've ever learned in your life, something you're comfortable sharing, what do you think that would be? It could be from your career, your personal life, something you're comfortable sharing.
I believe when I realized this, it changed everything, that we have everything that we need inside of us. We don't really need anything from anyone else. We certainly don't need permission from anyone else. We don't need compliments, or we don't need criticism. Actually, everything that we need is inside of us. We can be our own parents and our own children. We can we can hold our own hand on this journey through life. And we don't need anyone else's approval or disapproval. Everything that we need is right inside of us. And when I realized that, it changed everything for me. When I truly embraced that, one of my favorite sayings is about no one benefits if we keep ourselves small, if we hide our own light. Marianne Williamson, I don't know if you know that quote. It's a very famous one. But when you make a commitment to something bigger than you, when you promise to be the best version of yourself and you stop hiding and you embrace your own greatness, and that's what most people are afraid of, really. It's not, the pain. It's that, like, how bright they can shine when you let that go and you truly embrace your potential. Well, the world will be a very different place if more people did that, Cody.
100%. I agree. And I love that answer. Listen, man, I know you got to get out of here. This has been an incredible conversation. We might have to do a part 2 to this thing, because I feel like now that I've had kind of gotten my feet wet a little bit with this and kind of just dipped into a little bit about this breathwork thing. I think I'm going to try to do some breathwork techniques and see, and for a couple of weeks and see what, because I of all the things that I do, I don't do breath work. I don't do breath work probably the way I should. So, but I can see this being a powerful thing, and I can see this being a profound thing, and it's something that I think will have positive changes. So, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate your wisdom here. Appreciate you coming on and sharing these things with us, and I appreciate what you're doing too, man. Because not a lot of people know. Like I said, I don't think nearly enough people know about breath work maybe the way they should. And so I appreciate you teaching, not only teaching, but you're teaching other people to teach other people. And so I think that's incredible. So
thank you, Cody. I genuinely want to say you've been a really generous host, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come and just share a little bit about breathwork. This is what I do day in, day out. So anyone who gives me the opportunity, that I'm profoundly grateful. Perhaps we can finish as we started, just by taking a breath together.
For sure.
Thank you, Cody. And I hope that is not the last breath that we take together.
I'm sure it won't be. Hang out for just a second and let me explain about the process to you. And but I definitely appreciate your time, man. Hey guys, I really appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you found this content or this episode useful and intriguing, you can visit us on social media. This is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple and Google Podcasts. Pure Wisdom Podcast on all social medias. You can interact with us, follow, like, and share there, and we will see you guys next time.